Welcome to the Life with Grief podcast. I'm your host, grief and transformational life coach and fellow griever, Tara Accardo. Welcome back to the Life with Grief podcast, and welcome to day 5, our last day of our little holiday grief mini-series, if you will. And today I really wanted to talk about grief and gratitude around the holidays and sort of explore the question and sort of answer the question of whether these two things can coexist. So today we are diving into that topic, and I think it's something that so many of us find ourselves struggling with this time of year. These seemingly contradictory emotions of grief and gratitude during the holiday season. And the holidays can feel like just a season of contrast. It's a time when we are encouraged to be grateful, to celebrate, to be joyful. We have that messaging all around us. But for those of us who are grieving, it can feel like that is not even on our radar. Maybe we are still harboring some anger or resentment or hurt over what has happened this last year, especially if we have lost someone or multiple people this year, or maybe it's from years ago and we're just still struggling because that is the reality of grief. So today we are exploring whether grief and gratitude can really coexist, and if they can, how, and how to navigate this very emotionally charged and complex time of year. But really quick, I want to encourage you, if you have not listened to days 1 through 4 of this holiday grief mini-series, I really hope you do. We cover some really important topics, what holiday grief even looks like and feels like and how to navigate it, holiday triggers around this time, so many good things. So definitely go check those out. But I wanted to end this little series with addressing gratitude because I think there's a lot of misconceptions around this and how we feel gratitude and just what this even realistically looks like. So let's just set some expectations here. The holidays themselves come with a lot of expectations. There's this idea that we should feel, like I was saying earlier, grateful for what we have. We need to cherish every moment and focus on the good things and yada, 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 right? But if you're grieving, that pressure to feel grateful can sometimes feel impossible to meet. And even further, it can feel almost like a burden, like an added burden on top of everything else that we're dealing with. So here's the thing. Gratitude, it is not a requirement. It's okay to release yourself from the pressure of feeling grateful, especially when your heart is so heavy with loss. If you're in the depths of grief, trying to force yourself to feel grateful can actually deepen your pain. You might start to question yourself, like, why can't I just be grateful for the family that I still have? Or, why can't I just appreciate the good things? Like I do have. Maybe you're in an instance where you do have so much beauty and love around you, but you just cannot will yourself to get there. That is normal. That is okay. That is not something that can be forced. Gratitude is something, in my experience, both as a grief coach and as a griever myself, is something that can come when we least expect it, especially when we allow ourselves to simply be where we are emotionally. When you're grieving, it's okay if you don't feel grateful today, this week, or even this year, okay? Gratitude is something that can bloom and blossom on its own in its own time when you stop trying to force it. So if the pressure to be grateful is weighing you down, if that is putting more pressure on you, I encourage you today, release it. Give yourself permission to simply exist, to simply be in your own body and in whatever emotions you are feeling. Because sometimes the most radical act of self-care during the holidays that we can give ourselves is allowing ourselves to say, I don't have to be grateful right now. I just have to be. And there are a lot of really amazing ways that we can tap into that. I've gone into some various coping tools and exercises to try in the previous episodes. So like I said, check those out. But another aspect of this that I wanted to touch on is this feeling of perfection that I think so many of us sort of struggle with around the holidays. And I want to just talk about letting go of perfection and embracing the messiness of grief, because that is another myth that is especially strong this time of year, this myth of perfection, if you will. Social media, movies, even our own holiday traditions or people around us tell us or imply that the holiday should be picture perfect, right? Beautifully decorated trees or the perfect menorah or, whatever it is that you're celebrating. A happy, non-dysfunctional family, perfectly wrapped gifts, the perfect holiday dinner table. It's not realistic, you guys. And especially when you're grieving, that striving for perfection, or not even perfection, just normalcy, or even anything that resembles normalcy, it can make you feel even worse when things don't go to plan, or if it's, again, just not even remotely perfect. Grief is messy. Life is messy, even if you're not grieving something big or something small. It doesn't fit neatly into a holiday schedule and with this perfect little bow on it, and it doesn't go away just because it's time to celebrate. And trying to force yourself to be okay, to meet these holiday expectations that we set for ourselves or that are imposed by others, that can lead to burnout and even more emotional pain than we're already feeling. So instead of trying to create a perfect holiday season, I invite you to join me in embracing the messiness. Maybe this year, your holiday table will not have all of the dishes that you usually prepare. Maybe your home is not going to be decorated the way that it used to be. Maybe you are just not feeling it this year. Maybe you just cannot emotionally bring yourself to do that. Maybe you just do not want to put up the lights this season. And maybe you're not going to want to feel like attending every holiday gathering. That's okay. Letting go of perfection or any semblance of real normalcy, even that you've experienced in past holidays when your loved ones were around, we need to give ourselves permission to release that and do what feels right for you rather than what you think you're supposed to do. And I want to mention here, there's a lot of, I think, guilt and expectations that we feel we need to live up to in order to honor our loved ones. Like they might be mad at us if we don't do something that was normally a tradition or something like that. I want you to believe whatever you want when it comes to like where our loved ones are after they die or whatever. But just remember, we are here still living and having a very like physical, ego-driven experience as humans. And I don't necessarily mean ego in a bad way. It's just that we're the ones still here in a physical body and having all of these emotions and everything. That's released when we die, right? That doesn't stay with us the same way. So wherever you choose to believe your loved ones are, like, please just remember that if you're feeling any pressure to appease them or something, or you maybe think that they're going to smite you if you don't do something perfectly or keep the traditions up or something, like give yourself a break, at least for this year, at least in any given instance that you feel like taking your foot off the gas could help you mentally, physically, emotionally. This might be the year where you let someone else bring the food or a certain dish, or where you maybe just skip the gift exchanges entirely. There's no real rules, right? It might be your year where you spend the holiday season in your pajamas, where you watch your favorite movies and you find comfort in that. That's perfectly okay. If you feel you're needing some relief from grief, ways to manage stress and anxiety, and a tool that gives you a dose of hope moving forward, listen up because this is for you. My 14-day Relief in Your Grief experience brings you powerful, impactful, bite-sized daily content alongside the perfect meditation. One of the biggest struggles I hear from my members and clients is that they sometimes just need some relief from the stress, sadness, and pain that grief and loss can cause. And this can pop up at any time, right? But here's the thing, so many people are kind of lost and unsure about where to start doing this. And this can feel like a huge thing to tackle when we're overwhelmed. So we are doing it together, and we're starting with just 14 days. Give me 2 weeks and I will help you begin to take that anxiety, heartache, and anguish and turn it into peace, clarity, and hope as you move forward. You have nothing to lose by joining, and it's all less than $40. I have no doubt these 14 days will be an inspiring, uplifting, and perspective-changing experience for you. Learn more and join through the link in the show description. Grief allows us to reimagine traditions in a way that meets us where we're at. And it's okay to let the messiness of life and emotions be a part of that experience. And sometimes it's in these really imperfect, raw moments that we find the deepest connection to ourselves and to others and to our loved ones who have died. And when we tap into simplicity and keep it basic and don't overcomplicate it, that is sometimes when we can appreciate what's in front of us even more. When everything is stripped down and we see the holidays for what they truly are, whatever that really means for you, but I think for so many of us, it's spending time with loved ones or friends, or if it's by ourselves that year, it's by ourselves that year. That's okay. So let's just talk quickly about carrying both grief and hope and gratitude into the new year. As we approach the end of the year, it's really natural and normal to reflect on the past and to think about what lies ahead. I think that's a very normal thing for many of us. For those who are grieving, this reflection can bring up a lot of very deep emotions and can actually be pretty overwhelming. It often makes us kind of hone in on whatever losses we've been through, and those can feel more pronounced as, especially as the world around us celebrates new and exciting beginnings. We might just not even be there mentally, right? But here is a gentle reminder. Grief and hope, those two things can coexist. You don't have to choose one over the other. You can carry your grief with you into the new year while also holding space for the possibility of hope and just feeling like yourself again, if nothing else. If not hope and gratitude, it's just feeling like you have a little piece of yourself back. But I want you to remember, hope doesn't mean forgetting the person that you've lost or pretending that the pain isn't there. It certainly does not mean you have to move on either. Hope is simply the willingness to believe that even in the darkness, there is light to be found. There is a new iteration of our life ahead of us. And getting curious about what that looks like when we are ready is something that can actually be a really eye-opening process if we allow it to be. And I know this and I can say this confidently because I've been there and I've gone through that process. I still am because I am continuously learning and growing and evolving, as are you. And it's also knowing that healing and grief is not linear. There's no timeline. And that healing process, it never really ends because that hole in our heart, that void that we have, will never fully close, right? Because we don't have our loved ones here. But every day, every single small step brings you closer to, think of it as just a softer, more tender space where grief and hope can exist side by side. And you might feel one more in certain moments than others. That's fine. That's super, super normal. We think of it as like, there's like this hole in your heart, right? We build up the support around that hole in our heart, so to speak. So we just build this foundation where we're just a little stronger and we learn to carry it better. And if you are listening to this and feeling the weight of grief this holiday season or any time of year, let's be real, I want you to know that it's okay to carry that weight. I know you probably don't feel like it, but if we have been dealt a pretty crappy hand of cards, sometimes we don't have a choice, right? Let's just relish in that for a second. I understand that burden. I know it is so heavy and you didn't sign up for this. And I am so sorry that this is something that you have to carry. But it is also okay to leave room for hope, even when it comes in the smallest of ways and in the tiniest of packages. Because sometimes that tiny little flicker of hope is enough to carry us through to the next day and the next and the next. And we go from there, right? We take it a step at a time because that's all we can do. So as we close this shorty episode and this little series, I just want to leave you with this. This holiday season, allow yourself to be gentle with your heart and with people around you too. Let go of the pressure to be grateful or to be even remotely perfect or anything close to perfect. Embrace the messiness, the rawness, and the realness of your grief because it is a really real thing that needs to be acknowledged and recognized and cared for. And know that it will not and cannot be forced away. And you are not wrong for feeling this way. And there's nothing wrong with you if you feel like you can't shake it. This is a really, really difficult time of year. This is why I did this little mini series. But as you step into this new year, remember that grief and hope can coexist in new ways that make sense for you. And it is just all about figuring out what that looks like and what that feels like. So let's go into this next chapter together with open hearts and embracing the possibilities of different modalities of healing, remembering that healing is continuous, however that looks for each and every one of us. And remember, because I cannot say it enough, you are not alone in this journey. There is a community of people, including myself, walking alongside you here at Losses Become Gains and the Life with Grief podcast, and all over the world. There are thousands, there are millions of us going through a really difficult holiday season. And I just want you to feel supported. So as I've said in the other episodes, there are links in the show notes with resources to help you. Please check those out. I am so honored to offer whatever help I can. And also keep tuning in the rest of this year because I'm really excited. I am launching a couple of episodes, well, multiple episodes in December, but a couple that I'm really, really excited about that really help give you a good support and foundation ending one very griefy year and moving into another one, and does so in a really gentle but realistic way that also encourages a lot of hope and gives inspiration and a lot of really good positive vibes. So I'm so excited for those episodes to come. Keep tuning in and be sure you're subscribed if you aren't already to make sure that you get the episodes right when they drop. So if this episode resonated with you, please consider subscribing, like I said, leaving a review, maybe sharing it with someone who might need to hear it or any one of these episodes in this little series. I really hope you enjoyed them. If you did, let me know, DM me, shoot me an email. I am all ears. I love hearing from you guys. So until next week, take care of yourself. Remember, there is no right or wrong way to grieve this holiday season or any moment, any day outside of the holidays. All right. Sending a big virtual hug and lots of love to you this holiday season. And I will see you next week. I am sending you a huge thank you for tuning into today's episode, my friend. I'm so grateful you're here and for the steps you are taking to heal your heart, open your mind, fulfill your soul, learn, grow, and evolve, and move through this crazy thing called life in big, beautiful, impactful ways. Visit lossesbecomegains.com for my blog, membership, more coping tools, ways to work with me, and so much more. And be sure you're following along on Instagram and Facebook at Losses Become Gains, and on Instagram and TikTok at Life with Grief Podcast. I love seeing new faces, meeting new people, hearing your stories, and supporting you however I can. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this episode or this podcast with someone who could use it too. And remember to always keep asking yourself, how will I turn my losses into gains today? I'll catch you in the next episode.